you just saw was my first intergender pro wrestling match. That match saw me face Lady Diamonds one-on-one in a death match. To me, intergender wrestling has a lot of controversy around it because of a various amount of reasons for what is seen on like national media. To me, intergender wrestling is just a subgenre of pro wrestling, similar to how deathmatch or strong style or lucha libre is in the big wide umbrella of pro wrestling. Intergender wrestling has its positive and its negatives, and I'm going to be discussing both in this video. I want to be able to have an open discussion on why we do like intergender wrestling or why we don't like intergender wrestling. I personally am a big fan of intergender wrestling, and I think it does a lot of great stuff for equality and making women look strong. At the end of the day, pro wrestling is meant to tell a story, and so why can't women tell that story with men inside of the ring? Now, I'm going to give Allie Katch's perspective from one of Speedball Mike Bailey's vlogs. I think that her perspective is a really good way to summarize what intergender pro wrestling is.
I feel like I like it. I do it a lot. I don't see the big huff and puff about it. I think it's wrestling like any other wrestling. Like you would say tag team wrestling. I think like when you say like house wrestling, I just think it's like another genre. It's another way to tell stories. And it's another way to spotlight people. If you believe, you know, like Rey Mysterio versus Big Show, why can you not believe me versus somebody else? Or if you believe like two of the same size guys, why can't you believe me versus the guy that's the same size as me? If you don't like it because you think it's bad for women or you think it's domestic violence, then what do you think about same-sex couples? Do you think when men wrestle other men, it's also domestic violence for the gay community? And if you don't, then maybe you should take a look at what your priorities are. That's all I'm saying. That's all. I just don't waste my time fighting people about intergender wrestling anymore because I have money to make.
In the year 2020, Tessa Blanchard won the Impact Wrestling World Championship. I personally watched this moment happen live, and I thought it was an absolutely outstanding moment that marked a huge day for intergender wrestling. This was a day that people would talk about for a very long time for intergender wrestling, as this was the first woman to win a major TV company's world championship. I personally love seeing this moment with Tessa Blanchard winning, and I thought the story with Sami Callihan was absolutely top notch. From top to bottom, from the beginning of the first matches to the story that went all the way into 2020, I thought this was an incredible angle. Sadly, this title was cut short because Tessa Blanchard was exposed for being incredibly racist towards many different races, and the title had to be taken off her immediately. This gave a very bad name and rap to intergender wrestling. People began hating on intergender wrestling much more because of the incredibly hatred actions of Tessa Blanchard, which is completely unwarranted because Tessa Blanchard is only a single women's wrestler out of the thousands of women's wrestlers that work around the globe that deserve this opportunity to get that spotlight in that time. Intergender wrestling has ups and downs, and I will discuss some of the major downs, as even as Allie Katch said, people see it as like domestic violence, but Allie Katch made an excellent point. So what about same-sex couples? Is that seen as domestic violence if they wrestle each other? There are so many other variables that I just think don't work. Another thing that people do is they will over-sexualize intergender wrestling, which I think just speaks to the viewer themselves. If the viewer can only see women in a sexualized manner, that is a major problem for the viewer and not for the female wrestler, as a female wrestler should not constantly worry about having to be sexualized, especially in a pro wrestling ring, which is her line of work. Not every woman, especially pro wrestling women, wants to be constantly sexualized while she's working, while she's trying to make a living, which is how pro wrestlers make their living, which is wrestling. I think another major issue some people see with intergender wrestling is they don't see it as realistic enough. But if you don't see it as realistic enough, you've never seen a real fight. You've never seen what these women are incredibly capable of. These women can pull off every move that a man can. These women can do it at the same speed as men can, but people continue to hate on them because of sexist intentions. My experience in intergender wrestling was a really great one, especially against my opponent, Lady Diamonds. I hate to see intergender wrestling get bashed so much on mainstream wrestling. Companies like GCW do it perfectly, where Allie Katch, in her tag team with Effie, was an outstanding competitor and an outstanding wrestler. She was somebody that women could look up to as an absolute fucking badass in the ring. Allie Katch is a great example of one of my favorite wrestlers that will go wrestle intergender right now. Another amazing one is Jordynne Grace. Jordynne Grace is bigger than me. Jordynne Grace can lift more than me. There's no reason Jordan Grace shouldn't be wrestling men. If I can wrestle someone that is 300 pounds, so can Jordan Grace, because Jordan Grace is bigger, stronger, and faster than me. I think intergender wrestling needs to become more normalized, especially in the WWE or AEW. I would love to see more intergender wrestling matches in both companies that really spotlight the women of our industry, not just forcing them to wrestle only one gender. Because with that point, you come with, what about someone who identifies as they, them, or gender fluid? Who do they wrestle? I think everybody should be able to wrestle everybody, and we should be able to see the outstanding matches that they can make and produce. Feel free to discuss this in the comments with me. I'd love to have a discussion about this. I think intergender wrestling is something that should get more and more normalized, and tell me what you guys think. I definitely see some of the negative connotations with it, but I just don't think they're valid anymore, especially now that we're in 2022. This isn't the 1950s anymore, or the 1970s even. This is 2022, where we accept these things in a society. We are a much more open society that should not be judging women for these type of things. And I think the over-sexualization of female wrestlers is a major problem in pro wrestling communities, and especially the internet wrestling community, that needs to be fixed slowly but surely. Like I said, if you have any input, any questions, or any just discussion that you want to have in the comments, please feel free to have it. Just please keep it free of hate speech. Don't make things hateful. Don't have hatred towards these people who you're discussing with, if there's even a discussion. And make sure to keep yourself safe and have a great day. Thank you.